Mim repeats, "She wants you back." "People keep telling me that," Rabbit says, "but I don't see much evidence. She can find me if she wants to." Mim crosses her pants legs, aligns the stripes, and lights another cigarette. "She's trapped. Her love for this guy is the biggest thing she has. It's the first step out she's taken since she drowned that baby. Let's face it, Harry. You kids back here in the sticks still believe in ghosts. Before you screw, you gotta square it with old Jack Frost, or whatever you call him. To square skipping out with herself, she has to make it a big deal, so... Remember, as kids, those candy jars down at Spotsy's you reached inside of to grab the candy, and then you couldn't get your fist out? If Janice lets go to pull her hand out, she'll have no candy. She wants it out, but she wants the candy, too. No, that's not exactly it. She wants the idea of what she's made out of the candy in her own mind. So, somebody has to break the jar for her. I don't want her back still in love with this spick. That's how you have to take her. The son of a bitch, he even has the nerve, sitting there in these snappy suits. He must make 3 times what I do, just cheating people. He has the fucking nerve to be a dove. One night we all sat in this restaurant with him, and me arguing across the table about Vietnam, and them playing touch-ass side by side. You'd like him, actually. He's your type, a gangster. Patiently, Mim is sizing him up. One more potential customer at the bar. "Since when," she asks, "did you become such a war lover? As I remember you, you were damn glad to wriggle out of that Korean thing." "It's not all war I love," he protests. "It's this war. Because nobody else does. Nobody else understands it." "Explain it to me, Harry." It's a kind of head fake, to keep the other guy off balance. The world the way it is, you gotta do something like that once in a while to keep your options, to keep a little space around you." He is using his arms to show her his crucial concept of space. "Otherwise, he gets so he can read your every move, and you're dead." Mim asks, "You're sure there is this other guy?" "Sure, I'm sure." "The other guy is the doctor who shakes your hand so hard it hurts." "I know best." Madness begins in that pinch. "You don't think there might just be a lot of little guys trying to get a little more space than the system they're under lets them have?" "Sure, there are these little guys, billions of them." "Billions, millions, too much of everything." "But then also there's this big guy trying to put them all into a big black bag. He's crazy, so we must be." "A little?" She nods like a type of doctor herself. "That fits," she said. "Be crazy to keep free. The life you've been leading lately sounds crazy enough to last you a while." "What did I do wrong? I was a fucking good Samaritan. I took in these orphans. Black, white, I said hop aboard. Irregardless of color or creed, hop aboard. Free eats. I was the fucking Statue of Liberty. And it got you a burned-down house. Okay, that's other people. That's their problem, not mine. I did what felt right." He wants to tell her everything. He wants his tongue to keep pace with this love he feels for this, his sister. He wants to like her, though he feels a forbidding denseness in her, of too many conclusions reached, a wall dead beyond marring. He tells her, "I learned some things." "Anything worth knowing?" "I learned I'd rather fuck than be blown." Mim removes a crumb, as of tobacco, but the cigarette is filtered from her lower lip. "Sounds healthy," she says. "Rather un-American, though. And we used to read books aloud to each other." "Books about what?" "I don't know. Slaves, history, sort of." Mim, in her red-striped clown costume, laughs. "You went back to school," she says. "That's sweet." She used to get better marks than he did, even after she began with boys. A's and B's against his B's and C's. Mom at the time told him girls had to be smarter just to pull even. Mim asks, "So what'd you learn from these books?" "I learned..." He gazes at a corner of a room, wanting to get this right. He sees a cobweb above the sideboard, gesturing in some ceiling wind he cannot feel. "The country isn't perfect." Even as he says this, he realizes he doesn't believe it any more than he believes at heart that he will die. He is tired of explaining himself. "Speaking of sweet," he says, "how is your life?" "Ça va." That's French for it goes. Somebody keeping you, or is it a new one every night? She looks at him and considers. A glitter of reflexive anger snipes at her mask of eye makeup. Then she exhales and relaxes, seeming to conclude, well, he's my brother. Neither. I'm a career girl, Harry. I perform a service. I can't describe it to you the way it is out there. They're not bad people. They have rules. They're not very interesting rules, nothing like stick your hand in the fire and make it up to heaven. They're more like ride the exercise bicycle the morning after. The men believe in flat stomach muscles and sweating things out. They don't want to carry too much fluid. You could say they're Puritans. Gangsters are Puritans. They're narrow and hard because off the straight path you don't live. Another rule they have is pay for what you get because anything free has a rattlesnake under it. They're survival rules. Rules for living in the desert. That's what it is, a desert. Look out for it, Harry. It's coming east. It's here. You ought to see the middle of Brewer. It's all parking lots. But the things that grow you can eat, and the sun is still some kind of friend. Out there we hate it. We live underground. All the hotels are underground, with a couple of the windows painted blue. We like it best at night, about 3 in the morning, when the big money comes to the crap table. Beautiful faces, Harry. Hard and blank as chips. Thousands flow back and forth without any expression. You know what I'm struck by back here, looking at the faces? How soft they are. God, they're soft. You look soft to me, Harry. You're soft still standing, and Pop's soft curling under. If we don't get Janice propped back under you, you're going to curl under too. Come to think of it, Janice is not soft. She's hard as a nut. That's what I never liked about her. I bet I'd like her now. I should go see her. Sure, do. You can swap stories. Maybe you could get her a job on the West Coast. She's pretty old, but does great things with her tongue. That's quite a hang-up you have there. Nobody's perfect. How about you? You have some specialty, or just take what comes? She sits up. She really hurt you, didn't she? And eases back. She stares at Harry, interested. Perhaps she didn't expect in him such reserves of resentful energy. The living room is dark, though the noises that reach them from outside say the children are still playing in the sun. You're soft, she says, lulling, like slugs under fallen leaves. Out there, Harry, there are no leaves. People grow these tan shells. I have one, look. She pulls up her pinstripe blouse, and her belly is brown. He tries to picture the rest and wonders if her pussy is tinted honey blonde to match the hair on her head. You never see them out in the sun, but they're all tan with flat stomach muscles. Their one flaw is they're still soft inside. They're like those chocolates we used to hate, those chocolate creams. Remember how we'd pick through the Christmas box they'd give us at the movie theater, taking out only the square ones and the caramels and cellophane? The other ones we hated, those dark brown round ones on the outside, all ooky inside. But that's how people are. It embarrasses everybody, but they need to be milked. Men need to be drained, like boils. Women, too, for that matter. You asked me my specialty, and that's it. I milk people. I let them spill their insides on me. It can be dirty work, but usually it's clean. I went out there wanting to be an actress, and that's in a way what I got. Only I take on the audience one at a time. In some ways it's more intimate. So, tell me some more about your life. Well, I was nursemaid to this machine, but now they've retired the machine. I was nursemaid to Janice, but she upped and left. We'll get her back. Don't bother. Then I was nursemaid to Nelson, and he hates me because I let Jill die. She let herself die. Speaking of that, that's what I do like about these kids. They're trying to kill it, even if they kill themselves in the process. Kill what? The softness. Sex, love, me, mine. They're doing it in. I have no playmates under 30, believe it. They're burning it out with dope. They're going to make themselves hard, clean through, like, cockroaches. That's the way to live in the desert. Be a cockroach. It's too late for you and a little late for me, but once these kids get it together, there'll be no killing them. They'll live on poison. Mim stands. He follows. For all that she was a tall girl and is enlarged by womanhood and makeup, her forehead comes to his chin. He kisses her forehead. She tilts her face up, slime-blue eyelids shut, to be kissed again. Pop's loose mouth under Mom's chiseled nose. He tells her, "You're a cheerful broad," and pecks her dry cheek. Perfumed stationery. A smile in her cheek pushes his lips. She is himself, with the combination jiggled. She gives him a sideways hug, patting the fat around his waist. "I swing," Mim confesses. "I'm no showboat like Rabbit Angstrom, but in my quiet way I swing." She tightens the hug, and linked like that they walk to the foot of the stairs to go up and console their parents. Next day, Thursday, when Pop and Harry come home, Mim has Mom and Nelson downstairs at the kitchen table having tea and laughing. "Dad," Nelson says, the first time since Sunday morning he has spoken to his father without first being spoken to, "did you know Aunt Mim worked at Disneyland once? Do Abraham Lincoln for him. Please do it again." Mim stands. Today she wears a knit dress, short and gray. In black tights her legs show skinny and a little knock-kneed, the same legs she had as a kid. She wobbles forward as to a lectern, removes an imaginary piece of paper from a phantom breast pocket, and holds it wavering a little below where her eyes would focus if they could see. Her voice, as if on rustling tape within her throat, emerges. "47 years ago." Nelson is falling off the chair, laughing, yet his careful eyes for a split second check his father's face to see how he takes it. Rabbit laughs, and Pop emits an appreciative snarl, and even Mom. The bewildered, foolish glaze on her features becomes intentionally foolish, amused. Her laughter reminds Rabbit of the laughter of a child who laughs not with the joke, but to join the laughter of others, to catch up and be human among others. To keep the laughter swelling, Mim sets out 2 more cups and saucers in the jerky trance of a life-size Disney doll, swaying, nodding, setting 1 cup not in its saucer but on top of Nelson's head, even to keep the gag rolling, pouring some hot water not in the teacup but onto the table. The water runs, steaming, against Mom's elbow. "Stop, you'll scald her," Rabbit says, and seizes Mim, and is shocked by the tone of her flesh, which for the skit has become plastic, not hers, flesh that would stay in any position you twisted it to. Frightened, he gives her a little shake, and she becomes human, his efficient sister, wiping up, swishing her tail from table to stove, taking care of them all. Pop asks, "What kind of work did Disney have you do, Mim?" "I wore a little colonial get-up and led people through a replica of Mount Vernon." She curtsies, and with both hands in artificial unison points to an old gas stove, with its crusty range and the crazed mica window in the oven door. "The father of our country," she explains in a sweet clarion idiot voice, "was himself never a father." "Mim, you ever get to meet Disney personally?" Pop asks. Mim continues her act. "His connubial bed, which we see before us, measures 5 feet 4 3/4 inches from rail to rail, and from headboard to footboard is 2 inches under 7 feet. A giant's bed for those days, when most gentlemen were no bigger than warming pans. Here," she plucks a plastic fly swatter off the fly-speckled wall, "you see a warming pan." "If you ask me," Pop says to himself, having not been answered, "it was Disney more than FDR kept the country from going under to the commies in the Depression." "The tiny holes," Mim is explaining, holding up the fly swatter, "are designed to let the heat escape, so the father of our country will not suffer a chill when he climbs into bed with his beloved Martha. Here," Mim gestures with 2 hands at the Verity Press giveaway calendar on the wall, turned to October, a grinning jack-o'-lantern, "is Martha." Nelson is still laughing. But it is time to let go, and Mim does. She pecks her father on the forehead and asks him, "How's the Prince of Pica today?" Remember that, Daddy, when I thought Pica was the place where they had the Leaning Tower? North of Brewer's somewhere, Nelson tells her. I forget the exact place. There's some joint that calls itself the Leaning Tower of Pizza. The boy waits to see if this is funny, and though the grown-ups around the table laugh obligingly, he decides that it wasn't and shuts his mouth. His eyes go wary again. Can I be excused? Rabbit asks sharply, Where are you going? My room? That's Mim's room. When are you going to let her have it? Any time. Why don't you go outdoors? Kick the soccer ball around. Do something positive, for Christ's sake. Get the self-pity out of your system. Let him alone, Mom brings out. Mim intercedes. Nelson, when will you show me your famous mini-bike? It's not much good. It keeps breaking down. He studies her, his possible playmate. You can't ride it in clothes like that. Out west, she says, everybody rides motorcycles in trendy knits. Did you ever ride a motorcycle? All the time, Nelson. I used to be the den mother for a pack of Hell's Angels. We'll ride over and look at your bike after supper. It's not the kid's bike, it's somebody else's, Rabbit tells her. It'll be dark after supper, Nelson tells Mim. I love the dark, she says. Reassured, he clumps upstairs, ignoring his father. Rabbit is jealous. Mim has learned, these years out of school, what he has not, how to manage people. Mom lifts her teacup, sips, sets it down. A perilous, brave performance. She is proud of something. He can tell by the way she sits upright, her neck cords stretched. Her hair has been brushed tight about her head, tight and almost glossy. Mim, she says, went calling today. Rabbit asks, on who? Mim answers, on Janice at Springer Motors. Well, Rabbit pushes back from the table, his chair legs scraping. What did the little mutt have to say for herself? Nothing. She wasn't there. Where was she? He said seeing a lawyer. Old man Springer said that? Fear slides into his stomach, nibbling. The law. The long white envelope. Yet he likes the idea of Mim going over there and standing in one of her costumes in front of the Toyota cutout, a gaudy knife into the heart of the Springer empire. Mim, their secret weapon. No, she tells him, not old man Springer. Stavros. You saw Charlie there? Huh. How does he look? Beat? He took me out to lunch. Where? Well, I don't know, some Greek place in the Black District. Rabbit has to laugh. People dead and dying all around him, he has to let it out. Wait till he tells her that. Mim says, I doubt he will. Pop is slow to follow. Who are we talking about, Mim? That slick talker turned Janice's head? Mom's face gropes. Her eyes stretch as if she is strangling, yet her mouth struggles with happiness. In suspense, they all fall silent. Her lover, she pronounces. A sick feeling stabs Rabbit. Pop says, Well, I've kept my trap shut throughout this mess. Don't think, Harry, there wasn't a temptation to meddle, but I kept my peace. But a lover, in my book, is somebody who loves somebody through thick and thin. And from all I hear, this spick is just after the ass. The ass in the Springer name. Pardon the expression. I think, Mom says, faltering, though her face still shines, it's nice to know Janice has an ass. Mem finally completes for her, and it seems to Rabbit wicked that these two, Pop and Mim, are corrupting Mom on the edge of the grave. Coldly, he asks Mim, What did you and Chaz talk about? Oh, Mim says, things. She shrugs her knitted hip off the kitchen table, where she has been perched as on a bar stool. Did you know he has a rheumatic heart? He could kick off at any minute. Fat chance, Rabbit says. That type of operator, Pop says, snarling his teeth back into place, lives to be 100, while they bury all the decent, natural Americans. Don't ask me why it works that way. The Lord must have his reasons. Mim says, I thought he was sweet, and quite intelligent, and much nicer about you all than you are about him. He was very thoughtful about Janice. He's probably the first person in 30 years to give her some serious attention as a person. He sees a lot in her. Must use a microscope, Rabbit says. And you, Mim says, turning. He thinks you're about the biggest spook he's ever met. He can't understand why, if you want Janice back, you don't come and get her back. Rabbit shrugs. I don't believe in force. I don't like contact sports. I did tell him what a gentle brother you were. Never hurt a fly if he could help it. Used to worry me, Pop says. As if we'd had a girl and didn't know it. Isn't that the truth, Mother? Mom gets out. Never. All boy. In that case, Charlie says, Mim goes on. Rabbit interrupts. Charlie yet. In that case, he said, why is he for the war? Fuck, Rabbit says. He is more tired and impatient than he knew. Anybody with any sense at all is for the damn war. They want to fight, we gotta fight. What's the alternative? What? Mim tries to ride down her brother's rising anger. His theory is, she says, you like any disaster that might spring you free. You liked it when Janice left. You liked it when your house burned down. And I'll like it even more, Rabbit says, when you stop seeing this greasy creep. Mim gives him the stare that has put 1,000 men in their place. Like you said, he's my type. A gangster, right? No wonder you're out there screwing yourself into the morgue. You know where party chicks like you wind up. In coroner's reports, when you take too many sleeping pills, when the phone stops ringing, when the gangsters find playmates in not such baggy condition. You're in big trouble, sis, and the Stavroses of the world are going to be no help. They've put you where you are. Mom, Mim cries, out of old instinct, appealing to the frail cripple nodding at the kitchen table, tell Harry to lay off. And Rabbit remembers, it's a myth they never fought. They often did. When Pop and Harry return from work the next day, Harry's last on the job, the Toronado with New York plates is not in front of the house. Mim comes in an hour later, after Rabbit has put the supper chops in the oven. When he asks her where she's been, she drops her big stripy bag on the old Davenport and answers, "Oh, around, revisiting the scenes of my childhood. The downtown is really sad now, isn't it? All black-topped parking lots and afro-topped blacks, and linoleum stores. I did one nice thing, though. I stopped at that store on Lower Weiser with the lefty papers for sale and bought a pound of peanuts. Believe it or not, Brewer is the only place left you can get good peanuts in the shell, still warm." She tosses him the bag, wild. He grabs it left-handed, and as they talk in the living room, he cracks peanuts. He uses a flower pot for the shells. "So," he says, "you see Stavros again? You told me not to. Big deal, what I tell you. How was he? Still clutching his heart?" "He's touching, just the way he carries himself." "Boo-hoo. You analyze me some more?" "No, we were selfish. We talked about ourselves. He saw right through me. We were halfway into the first drink, and he looks me up and down through those tinted glasses and says, 'You work the field, don't you? Give me a peanut.' He tosses a fistful overhanded. They pelt her on the chest. She is wearing a twitchy little dress that buttons down the front and whose pattern imitates lizard skin. When she puts her feet up on the hassock, he sees clear to the crotch of her pantyhose. There are 3 schools, those who wear underpants under, those who wear them over, and those who wear none. Mim looks to be of the 3rd school. She acts lazy and soft. Her eyes have relented, though the makeup shines as if freshly applied. "That's all you did?" he asks. "Eat lunch?" "That's all for folks." "What are you trying to prove? I thought you came east to help Mom." "To help her help you." "How can I help her? I'm no doctor." "Well, I really appreciate your help, fucking my wife's boyfriend like this." Mim laughs at the ceiling, showing Harry the horseshoe curve of her jaw's underside, the shining white jugular bulge. As if cut by a knife, the laugh ends. She studies her brother gravely, impudently. "If you had a choice, who would you rather went to bed with, him, her, or me?" "Her." "Janice. I can always have 2. I mean, it's possible, but you, never." "I know," Mim gaily agrees. "Of all the men in the world, you're the only one off bounds. You and Pop. And how does that make me seem?" She focuses hard on him to get the one-word answer. "Ridiculous." "That's what I thought." "Hey, Jesus." Did you really give Stavros a bang today? Or are you just getting my goat? Where would you go? Wouldn't Janice miss him at the office? Oh, he could say he was out on a sale or something. Mim offers, bored now. Or he could tell her to mind her own business. That's what European men do. She stands, touches all the buttons in the front of her lizard-skin dress to make sure they're done. Let's go visit Mom, Mim adds. Don't fret. Years ago, I made it a rule never to be with a guy more than 3 times, unless there was some percentage in getting involved. That night, Mim gets them all dressed and out to dinner at the Smorgasbord Diner south toward the ballpark. Though Mom's head waggles and she has some trouble cutting the crust of her apple pie, she manages pretty well and looks happy. How come he and Pop never thought of getting her out of the house? He resents his own stupidity and tells Mim in the hall as they go into their beds. She is back in her old room. Nelson sleeps with him now. You're just little Miss Fix-It, aren't you? Yes, she snaps. And you're just big Mr. Muddle. She begins undoing her buttons in front of him and closes her door only after he has turned away. Saturday morning, she takes Nelson in her Toronado over to the Fosnachts. Janice has arranged with Mom that she and Peggy will do something all day with the boys. Though it takes 20 minutes to drive from Mount Judge to West Brewer, Mim is gone all morning and comes back to the house after 2. Rabbit asks her, "How was it?" "What?" "No, seriously. Is he that great in the sack or just about average in your experience?" "My theory for a while was there must be something wrong with him. Otherwise, why would he latch on to Janice when he could have all these new birds coming up? Maybe Janice has wonderful qualities. Let's talk about him, relative to your experience." He imagines that all men have been welded into one for her, faces and voices and chests and hands welded into one murmuring pink wall, as once for him the audience at those old basketball games became a single screaming witness that was the world. To your wide experience, he qualifies. "Why don't you tend your own garden instead of hopping around nibbling at other people's?" Mim asks. When she turns, her body becomes a gate of horizontal stripes, her ass barred in orange. "I have no garden," he says. "Because you didn't tend it at all. Everybody else has a life they try to fence in with some rules. You just do what you feel like, and then when it blows up or runs down, you sit there and pout." "Christ," he says, "I went to work day after day for 10 years. Mim tosses this off. "You felt like it. It was the easiest thing to do." "You know, you're beginning to remind me of Janice." She turns, the gate opens. "Charlie told me Janice is fantastic, a real wild woman." Sunday, Mim stays home all day. They go for a drive in Pop's old Chevy out to the quarry where they used to walk. The fields that used to be dusted white with daisies and then yellow with goldenrod are housing tracts now. Of the quarry, only the great gray hole in the ground remains. The Oz-like tower of sheds and chutes where the cement was processed is gone, and the mouth of the cave where children used to hide and frighten themselves is sealed shut with bulldozed dirt and rusted sheets of corrugated iron. "Just as well," Mom pronounces. "Awful things used to happen there. Men and boys." They eat at the aluminum diner out on Warren Street with a view of the viaduct, and this meal out is less successful than the last. Mom refuses to eat. "No appetite," she says, yet Rabbit and Mim think it is because the booths are close and the place is bright, and she doesn't want people to see her fumble. They go to a movie. The movie page of the VAT advertises I Am Curious Yellow, Midnight Cowboy, a double bill of Depraved and The Circus, girls never played games like this before, a Swedish X-film titled Yes, and Funny Girl. Funny Girl sounds like more of the same, but it has Barbra Streisand. There will be music. They make it late to the 6:30 show. Mom falls asleep and Pop gets up and walks around in the back of the theater and talks to the usher in a penetrating whine until one of the scattered audience calls out, "Shh!" On the way out, the lights on, a trio of hoods give Mim such an eye, Rabbit gives them back the finger. Blinking in the street, Mom says, "That was nice. But really, Fanny, was very ugly, but stylish. And a gangster. She always knew Nick Arnstein was a gangster. Everybody knew it." "Good for her," Mim says. "It isn't the gangsters who are doing the country in," Pop says. "If you ask me, it's the industrialists, the monster fortunes, the Mellons and the DuPonts. Those are the cookies we should put in jail." Rabbit says, "Don't get radical, Pop." "I'm no radical," the old man assures him. "You gotta be rich to be radical." Monday, a cloudy day, is Harry's first day out of work. He is awake at 7, but Pop goes off to work alone. Nelson goes with him. He still goes to school in West Brewer and switches buses on Weiser. Mim leaves the house around 11. She doesn't say where to. Rabbit scans the want ads in the Brewer Triumph. Accountant, administrative trainee, apprentice spray painter, auto mechanic, bartender. The world is full of jobs, even with Nixon's depression. He skips down through insurance agents and programmers to a column of salesmen, and then turns to the funnies. Goddamn apartment 3G. He feels he's been living with those girls for years now. When is he going to see them with their clothes off? The artist keeps teasing him with bare shoulders in bathrooms, naked legs in the foreground with the crotch coming just at the panel edge, glimpses of bra straps being undone. He calculates. After 2 months' pay from Verity, he has 37 weeks of welfare, and then he can live on Pop's retirement. It is like dying now. They don't let you fall, though. They keep you up forever with transfusions. Otherwise you'll be an embarrassment to them. He skims the divorce actions and doesn't see himself and goes upstairs to Mom. She is sitting up in bed, her hands quiet on the quilted coverlet, an inheritance from her own mother. The television is also quiet. Mom stares out of the window at the maples. They have dropped leaves enough so the light in here seems harsh. The sad smell is more distinct. Fleshly staleness mingled with the peppermint of medicine. To spare her the walk down the hall, they have put a commode over by the radiator. To put a little bounce into her life, he sits down heavily on the bed. Her eyes, with their film of clouding pallor, widen. Her mouth works, but produces only saliva. "What's up?" Harry loudly asks. "How's it going?" "Bad dreams," she brings out. "L-Dopa does things to the system. So does Parkinson's disease." This wins no response. He tries, "What do you hear from Julia Arndt? And what's her name, Mamie Kellogg? Don't they still come visiting?" "I've outlasted their interest." "Don't you miss their gossip?" "I think it scared them when it all came true." He tries, "Tell me one of your dreams." "I was picking scabs all over my body. I got one off, and underneath there were bugs, the same as when you turn over a rock." "Wow, enough to make you stay awake. How do you like Mim's being here?" "I do. Still full of sauce, isn't she?" "She tries to be cheerful. Hard as nails, I'd say." "Inch by inch," Mom says. "Huh?" "That was on one of the children's programs. Earl leaves the set on and makes me watch. Inch by inch." "Yeah, go on." "Life is a cinch. Yard by yard, life is hard." He laughs appreciatively, making the bed bounce more. "Where do you think I went wrong?" "Who says you did?" "Mom, no house, no wife, no job. My kid hates me. My sister says I'm ridiculous." "You're growing up." "Mim says I've never learned any rules." "You haven't had to." "Huh. Any decent kind of world, you wouldn't need all these rules. She has no ready answer for this. He looks out of her windows. There was a time, the year after leaving, 5 years after, when this homely street, with its old-fashioned high crown, its sidewalk blocks tugged up and down by maple roots, its retaining walls of sandstone and railings of painted iron and two-family brick-front houses whose siding imitates gray rocks, excited Rabbit with the magic of his own existence. These mundane surfaces had given witness to his life. This chalice had held his blood. Here the universe had centered, each down-twirling maple seed of more account than galaxies. No more. Jackson Road seems an ordinary street anywhere. Millions of such American streets hold millions of lives and let them sift through, and neither notice nor mourn, and fall into decay, and do not even mourn their own passing, but instead grimace at the wrecking ball, with the same gaunt facades that have outweathered all their winters. This book is Millions of such American streets hold millions of lives and let them sift through, and neither notice nor mourn, and fall into decay, and do not even mourn their own passing, but instead grimace at the wrecking ball, with the same gaunt facades that have outweathered all their winters. However steadily Mom communes with these maples, the branches misty snake shapes as inflexibly fixed in these two windows as the leading of stained glass, they will not hold back her fate by the space of a breath. Nor, if they are cut down tomorrow to widen Jackson Road at last, will her staring, that planted them within herself, halt their vanishing. And the wash of new light will extinguish even her memory of them. Time is our element, not a mistaken invader. How stupid. It has taken him 36 years to begin to believe that. Rabbit turns his eyes from the windows and says to say something. Having Mim home sure makes Pop happy. But in his silence, Mom, head rolling on the pillow, her nostrils blood red in contrast with the linen, has fallen asleep. He goes downstairs and makes himself a peanut butter sandwich. He pours himself a glass of milk. He feels the whole house is balanced so that his footsteps might shake Mom and tumble her into the pit. He goes into the cellar and finds his old basketball, and more of a miracle still, a pump with the air needle still screwed into the nozzle. In their frailty, things keep faith. The backboard is still on the garage, but years have rusted the hoop and loosened the bolts, so the first hard shots tilt the rim sideways. Nevertheless, he keeps horsing around, and his touch begins to come back, up and soft, up and soft. Imagine it just dropping over the front of the rim. Forget it's a circle. The day is very gray, so the light is nicely even. He imagines he's on television. Funny, watching the pros on the box, how you can tell, from just some tone of their bodies as they go up, if the shot will go in. Mim comes out of the house, down the back steps, down the cement walk to him. She is wearing a plain black suit with wide, boxy lapels, and a black skirt just to the knee. An outfit a Greek would like. Classic widow. He asks her, "That new?" "I got it at Kroll's. They're outlandishly behind the coasts, but their staid things are half as expensive." "You see friend Chaz?" Mim puts down her purse and removes her white gloves and signals for the ball. He used to spot her 10 points at 21 when he was in high school. As a girl, she had speed and a knock-kneed moxie at athletics, and might have done more with it if he hadn't harvested all the glory already. "Friend Janice, too," she says, and shoots. It misses, but not by much. He bounces it back. "More arch," he tells her. "Where'd you see Jan?" "She followed us to the restaurant." "You fight?" "Not really. We all had martinis and Retsina and got pretty well smashed. She can be quite funny about herself now, which is a new thing." Her grease-laden eyes squint at the basket. "She says she wants to rent an apartment away from Charlie so she can have Nelson." This shot, the ball hits the crotch, and every loose bolt shudders looser. "I'll fight her all the way on that." "Don't get uptight. It won't come to that." "Oh, it won't. Aren't you a fucking little know-it-all? I try. One more shot? Her breasts jog her black lapels as she shoves the dirty ball into the air. A soft drizzle has started. The ball swishes the net if the net had been there. How could you give Stavros his bang if Janice was there? We sent her back to her father. He had meant the question to be rude, not for it to be answered. Poor Janice, he says. How does she like being out-tarted? I said, don't get uptight. I'm flying back tomorrow. Charlie knows it, and so does she. Mim, you can't so soon. What about them? He gestures at the house. From the back, it has a tenement tallness, a rickety hangdog wood and tar shingle backside mismatched to its solid street face. You'll break their hearts. They know. My life isn't here, it's there. You have nothing there but a bunch of horny hoods and a good chance of getting VD. Oh, we're clean, didn't I tell you? We're all obsessed with cleanliness. Yeah, Mim. Tell me something else. Don't you ever get tired of fucking? I mean, to show the question is sincere, not rude. I'd think you would. She understands and is sisterly honest. Actually, no, I don't. As a girl, I would have thought you would, but now, being a woman, I see you really don't. It's what we do. It's what people do. Of course, there are times, but even then there's something nice. People want to be nice, haven't you noticed? They don't like being shits that much. Her eyes, in their lassos of paint, seem outdoors younger. Her iris is gold near the pupil, brown eyes that came from somewhere far back in the family than they have a right to be. Well, good, he says weakly. He wants to take her hand, to be led. As her brother once, he had been afraid she would fall in the quarry if he let go, and he had let go, and she had fallen, and now says it's all right. All things must fall. She laughs and goes on, Of course I was never squeamish like you. Remember how you hated food that was mixed up when the pea juice touched the meat or something? And that time I told you all food had to be mushed like vomit before you could swallow it, you hardly ate for a week. I don't remember that. Stavros is really great, huh? Mim picks up her white gloves from the grass. He's nice. She slaps her palm with the gloves, studying her brother. One other thing you should know, she says. What? He braces for the worst, the hit that will leave nothing there. It's raining. And in the darkening drizzle she sprints, still knock-kneed and speedy, up the walk through their narrow backyard, up the stairs of their spindly back porch. He hugs the ball and follows. In his parents' house, Rabbit not only reverts to peanut butter sandwiches and cocoa, and lazing in bed when the sounds of Pop and Nelson leaving have died, he finds himself faithfully masturbating. The room itself demands it, a small, long room he used to imagine as a railway car being dragged through the night. Its single window gives on the sunless passageway between the houses. As a boy in this room, he could look across the space of 6 feet at the drawn shade of the room that used to be little Carol and Zim's. The Zims were night owls. Some nights, though he was 3 grades ahead of her, Carolyn would go to bed later than he, and he would strain to see in the chinks of light around her shade the glimmer of her undressing. And by pressing his face to the chill glass by his pillow, he could look at a difficult diagonal into Mr. and Mrs. Zim's room, and one night glimpsed a pink commotion that may have been intercourse. But nearly every morning the Zims could be heard at breakfast fighting, and Mom used to wonder how long they would stay together. People that way plainly wouldn't be having intercourse. In those days, this room was full of athletes, mostly baseball players. Their pictures came on school tablet covers. Musial and Dimage and Luke Appling and Rudy York. And for a while there had been a stamp collection, weird to remember. The big blue album with padded covers and the wax paper mounts and the wax paper envelopes stuffed with a tumble of Montenegro and Sierra Leone cancels. He imagined then he would travel to every country in the world and send Mom a postcard from everyone with these stamps. He was in love with the idea of traveling, with running, with geography, with Parcheesi and Safari and all board games where you roll the dice and move. The sense of a railroad car was so vivid he could almost see his sallow overhead light, tulip-shaped, tremble and sway with the motion. Yet traveling became an offense in the game he got good at. The tablet covers were pulled from the wall while he was in the army. The spots their tacks left were painted over. The tulip of frosted glass was replaced by a fluorescent circle that buzzes and flickers. Mom converted his room to her junk room. An old push-treadle singer, a stack of Reader's Digests and family circles, a bridge lamp whose socket hangs broken like a chicken's head by one last tendon, depressing pictures of English woods and Italian palaces where he has never been. The folding cot from Sears where Nelson slept while Mim was here. When Mim left Tuesday, Nelson moved back to her room, abandoning his father to memories and fantasies. He always has to imagine somebody masturbating. As he gets older, real people aren't exciting enough. He tried imagining Peggy Fasnacht because she had been recent and good, all gumdrops. But remembering her reminds him that he has done nothing for her, has not called her since the fire, has no desire to, left her Mustang in the basement and had Nelson give her the key, scared to see her, blames her. She seduced him. The low blue flame that made her want to be fucked spread and became the fire. From any thought of the fire, his mind darts back singed. Nor can he recall Janice, but for the bird-like dip of her waist under his hand in bed, she is all confused, mocking darkness where he dare not insert himself. He takes to conjuring up a hefty, coarse negress, fat but not sloppy fat, muscular and masculine, with a trace of a mustache and a chipped front tooth. Usually she is astraddle him like a smiling Buddha, slowly rolling her ass on his thighs, sometimes coming forward so her big cocoa-colored breasts swing into his face like boxing gloves with sensitive tips. He and this massive whore have just shared a joke in his fantasy. She is laughing, and good humor is rippling through his chest, and the room they are in is no ordinary room, but a kind of high attic, perhaps a barn, with distant round windows admitting dusty light and rafters from which ropes hang, almost a gallows. Though she is usually above him, and he sometimes begins on his back, imagining his fingers are her lips, for the climax he always rolls over and gives it to the bed. He has never been able to shoot off lying on his back. It feels too explosive, too throbbing, too blasphemous upwards. God is on that side of him, spreading his feathered wings as above a crib. Better turn and pour it into hell. You nice big purple-lipped black cunt, gold tooth. When this good-humored goddess of a negress refuses, through repeated conjuration, to appear vividly enough, he tries imagining Babe. Mim, during her brief stay, told him offhand at the end of his story that what he should have done was sleep with Babe. It had been all set up, and it was what his subconscious wanted. But Babe, in his mind, has stick fingers cold as ivory, and there is no finding a soft hole in her. She is all shell, and the puckers on her face have been baked there by a wisdom that withers him. He has better luck making a movie that he is not in, imagining two other people, Stavros and Mim. How did they do it? He sees her scarlet Toronado barreling up the steepness of Eisenhower Avenue, stopping at 12:04. The two of them get out, the red doors slam punkily, they go in, go up, Mim first. She would not even turn for a preliminary kiss. She would undress swiftly. She would stand in noon window light, lithe and casual, her legs touching at the knees, her breasts with their sunken nipples and bumpy aureoles, he has seen her breasts, spying, still girlish and undeveloped, having never nursed a child. Stavros would be slower in undressing, stolid, nursing his heart, folding his pants to keep the crease for when he returns to the lot. His back would be hairy, dark whirlpools on his shoulder blades. His cock would be thick and ropily veined, ponderous but irresistible in rising under Mim's deft teasing. He hears their wisecracking voices die. He imagines afternoon clouds dimming the sepia faces of the ancestral Greeks on the lace-covered tables. He sees the man's clotted cock with the column of muscle on its underside swallowed by Mim's rat-furred vagina. No, she is not honey blonde here. Sees her greedy, ringless fingers press his balls deeper up into her ravenous stretched cunt, and himself comes. As a boy, he had felt it as a space flight, a squeezed and weightless spinning over onto his head, but now it is a mundane release as of anger, a series of muffled shouts into the safe bed sheet, rocks thrown at a boarded window. In the stillness that follows, he hears a tingling, a submerged musical vibration slowly identifiable as the stereo set of the barefoot couple next door in the other half of the house. One night, while he is letting his purged body drift in listening, Jill comes and bends over and caresses him. He turns his head to kiss her thigh, and she is gone. But she has wakened him. It was her presence. And through this rip in her death 1,000 details are loosed. Tendrils of hair, twists of expression, her frail voice quavering into pitch as she strummed. The minor details of her person that slightly repelled him, her small gray teeth, her doughy legs, the apple smoothness of her valentine bottom, the something prim and above it all about her flaky mouth, the unwashed dress she preferred to wear, now return and become the body of his memory. Times return when she merged on the bed with moonlight, her young body just beginning to learn to feel, her nerve endings still curled in like fern heads in the spring, green, a hardness that repelled him but was not her fault. The gift of herself was too new to give, her angel of a body that took orders like a dog, that licked and would have loved, was waiting to learn the words by hearing them spoken, wanting to uncurl. Pensive moments of her face returned to hurt him, a daughterly attentiveness he had bid her hide. Why? He had retreated into deadness and did not wish her to call him out. He was not ready. He had been hurt. Let black Jesus have her. He had been converted to a hardness of heart, a billion cunts and only one him. He tries to picture what had been so nice, Jill and Skeeter as he actually saw them once in hard lamplight. But in fantasy now Rabbit rises from the chair to join them, to be a father and lover to them, and they fly apart like ink and paper whirling to touch for an instant. She is touching him again as he lies in his boyhood bed, and this time he does not make the mistake of turning his face. He very carefully brings his hand up from his side to touch the ends of her hair where it must hang. Waking to find his hand in empty mid-air, he cries. Grief rises in him out of a parched stomach, a sore throat, singed eyes. Remembering her daughterly blind grass green looking to him for more than shelter, he blinds himself, leaves stains on the linen that need not be wiped. They will be invisible in the morning. Yet she had been here, her very breath and presence. He must tell Nelson in the morning. On this resolve he relaxes, lets his room, with hallucinatory shuddering, be coupled to an engine and tugged westward toward the desert, where Mim is now. "That bitch," Janice said. "How many times did you screw her?" "3 times, Charlie said. "That ended it. It's one of her rules." This ghost of conversation haunts Janice this night she cannot sleep. Harry's witch of a sister has gone back to whoring, but her influence is left behind in Charlie like a poison, a touch of disease. They had it so perfect. Lord, they had never told her. Not her mother or her father or the nurses at school, only the movies had tried to tell her, but they couldn't show it, at least not until recently, how perfect it could be. Sometimes she comes just thinking about him, and then other times they last forever together. It is beautiful how slow he can be, murmuring all the time to her, selling her herself. They call it a piece of ass, and she never understood why until Charlie, it wasn't on her front so much where she used to get mad at Harry, because he couldn't make their bones touch or give her the friction she needed long enough, so then he ended blaming her for not being with him. It was deeper inside, where the babies happened, where everything happens. She remembers how, was it with Nelson or poor little Becky, they said push, and it was embarrassing, like forcing it when you haven't been regular. But then the pain made her so panicky she didn't care what came out, and what came out was a little baby, all red-faced and cross, as if it had been interrupted doing something else in there inside her. Stuff up your ass. She had hated to hear people say it. What men did to each other in jail or in the army, where the only women are yellow women screaming by the roadside with babies in their arms and squatting to go to the bathroom anywhere. Disgusting. But stuffed was what she felt, and with Charlie there it is again. It is a piece of ass she is giving him. He is remaking her from the bottom up, another expression she had hated. The whole base of her feels made new, mud made radiant. Yet afterwards, when she tries to say this, how he remakes her, sometimes she feels like hot iron on an anvil the way he pounds. He gives that lovable shrug and pretends it was something anybody could do. A trick, like that little trick he does with matches to amuse his nephews, making them pick up the last one, instead of the sad truth, which is that nobody else in the whole wide... Harry was always worrying about how wide the world was, caring about things like how far stars are and the moon shot, and the way the communists wanted to put everybody in a big black bag so he couldn't breathe. World. But Charlie could do that for her. She was made for him from the beginning of time, without exaggeration. When she tries to describe this to him, how unique they are and sacred, he measures the space of silence with his wonderful hands, just the way his thumbs are put together takes the breath out of her, and slips the question like a cloak from his shoulders. "How could you do that to me?" He shrugged. "I didn't do it to you. I did it to her. I screwed her." "Why?" "Why? Why not? Relax, it wasn't that great. She was cute as hell at lunch, but as soon as we got into bed, her thermostat switched off, like handling white rubber." "Oh, Charlie, talk to me, Charlie. Tell me why. Don't lean on me, Tiger." She had made him make love to her. She had done everything for him. She had worshipped him. She had wanted to cry out her sorrow that there wasn't more she could do, that bodies were tools shaped for too many purposes. Though she had extracted her lover's semen from him, she failed to extract testimony that his sense of their love was as absolute as her own. Terribly, complainingly, preeningly, she had said, "You know, I've given up the world for you." He had sighed, "You can get it back." "I've destroyed my husband. He's in all the newspapers." He doesn't mind. "I've dishonored my parents." He had turned his back. With Harry, it had been usually she who turned her back. He is hard to snuggle against, too big. It is like clinging to a rock slippery with hair. He had, for him, apologized. "Tiger, I'm bushed. I've felt rotten all day." "Rotten how?" "Deep down rotten. Shaky rotten." And feeling him slip toward oblivion had so enraged her, she had hurled herself naked from bed, had shrieked at him the words he had taught her in love, knocked a dead great-aunt from a bureau top, announced that any decent man would at least have offered to marry her now, knowing she wouldn't accept, did things to the peace of the apartment that now reverberate in her insomnia, make the darkness shudder between pulses of the headlights that tirelessly pass below on Eisenhower Avenue. The view from the back of Charlie's apartment is an unexpected one, of a bend in the running horse river like a cut in fabric, of the elephant-colored gas tanks in the boggy land beside the dump, and around a church with twin blue domes she never knew was there, a little cemetery with iron crosses instead of stones. The traffic out front never ceases. Janice has lived near Brewer all her life, but never in it before, and thought all places went to sleep like people, and was surprised how this city always rumbles with traffic, like her heart, which even through dreams keeps pouring out its love. She awakes. The curtains at the window are silver. The moon is a cold stone above Mount Judge. The bed is not her bed. Then she remembers it has been her bed since, when? July it was. For some reason, she sleeps with Charlie on her left. Harry was always on her right. The luminous hands of the electric clock by Charlie's bedside put the time at after 2. Charlie is lying face up in the moonlight. She touches his cheek, and it is cold. She puts her ear to his mouth, and hears no breathing. He is dead. She decides this must be a dream. Then his eyelids flutter as if at her touch. His eyeballs in the faint cold light seem unseeing, without pupils. Moonlight glints in a dab of water at the far corner of the far eye. He groans, and Janice realizes this is what has waked her. A noise not freely given, but torn from some heavy mechanism of restraint deep in his chest. Seeing that she is up on an elbow, watching, he says, "Hi, Tiger. It hurts." "What hurts, love? Where?" Her breath rushes from her throat so fast it burns. All the space in the room, from the corners in, seems a crystal. A wrong move from her will shatter. "Here." He seems to mean to show her, but cannot move his arms. Then his whole body moves, arching upward as if twitched by something invisible outside of him. She glances around the room for the unspeaking presence tormenting them, and sees again the lace curtains, stamped, interwoven medallions on the blue of the street lamp, and against the reflecting blue of the bureau mirror the square blank silhouettes of framed aunts, uncles, nephews. The groan comes again, and the painful upward arching. A fish hooked deep in the heart. "Love, is there any pill?" He makes words through his teeth. "Little white, top shelf, bathroom cabinet." The crowded room pitches and surges with her panic. The floor tilts beneath her bare feet. The nightie she put on after making her bad scene taps her burning skin scoldingly. The bathroom door sticks. One side of the frame strikes her shoulder hard. She cannot find the light cord, her hand flailing in the darkness. Then she strikes it, and it leaps from her touch, and while she waits for it to swing back down out of the blackness, Charlie groans again, the worst yet, the tightest sounding. The cord finds her fingers, and she pulls. The light pounces on her eyes. She feels them shrink so rapidly it hurts, yet she doesn't take the time to blink, staring for the little white pills. She confronts in the cabinet a sick man's wealth. All the pills are white. No, one is aspirin, another is yellow and transparent, those capsules that hold 100 little bombs to go off against hay fever. Here, this one must be it. Though the little jar is unlabeled, the plastic squeeze lid looks important. There is tiny red lettering on each pill, but she can't take the time to read it. Her hands shake too much. They must be right. She tilts the little jar into her palm, and 5 hurry out. No, 6. And she wonders how she can be wasting time counting, and tries to slide some back into the tiny round glass mouth, but her whole body is beating so hard her joints have locked to hold her together. She looks for a glass and sees none, and takes the square top of the water pick, and very stupidly lets the faucet water run to get cold, wetting her palm and turning it off, so the pills there blur and soften and stain the creased skin they are cupped in. She has to hold everything, pills and slopping water-pick lid, in one hand, to free the other to close the bathroom door, to keep the light caged away from Charlie. He lifts his large head a painful inch from the pillow and studies the pills melting in her hand, and gets out, Not those, little white. He grimaces as if to laugh. His head sinks back. His throat muscles go rigid. The noise he makes now is up an octave, a woman's voice. Janice sees she does not have time to go back and search again. He is being tuned too high. She sees that they are beyond chemicals. They are pure spirits. She must make a miracle. Her body feels leaden on her bones. She remembers Harry telling her she has the touch of death. But a pressure from behind, like a cuff on the back of her head, pitches her forward with a keening cry pitched like his own, and she presses herself down upon his body that has been so often pressed upon hers. He has become a great hole, nothing less large than she, wild with love, can fill. She wills her heart to pass through the walls of bone and gives its rhythm to his. He grits his teeth, Christ, and strains upward against her, as if coming, and she presses down with great calm, her body a sufficiency, its warmth and wetness and pulse as powerful as it must be to staunch this wound that is an entire man, his length and breadth loved, his level voice loved, and his clever square hands loved, and his whirlpools of hair loved, and his buffed fingernails loved, and the dark goose-flesh bag of his manhood loved, and the frailty held within him like a threat and lock against her loved. She is a gateway of love, gushing from higher ground. She feels herself dissolving piece by piece like a little mud dam in a sluice. She feels his heart kick like pinned prey, and keeps it pinned, though he has become a devil, widening now into a hole wider than a quarry, and then gathering into a pain-squeezed upper thrust as pointed and cold as an icicle. She does not relent. She widens herself to hold his edges in. She softens herself to absorb the spike of his pain. She will not let him leave her. There is a third person in the room. This person has known her all her life and looked down upon her until now. Through this other pair of eyes, she sees she is weeping, hears herself praying, Go, go, to the devil thrashing inside this her man. Go, she utters aloud. Charlie's body changes tone. He is dead. No, at his mouth she eavesdrops on the whistle of his breathing. Sudden sweat soaks his brow, his shoulders, his chest, her breasts, her cheek where it was pressed against his cheek. His legs relax. He grunts, Okay. She dares slide from him, tucking the covers, which she had torn down to bare his chest, back up to his chin. Shall I get the real pills now? In a minute. No immediate need now. Nitroglycerin. What you brought me was Coricidin, cold pills. She sees that his grimace had meant to be laughter, for he does smile now. Harry is right. She is stupid. To ease the hurt look from her face, Stavros tells her, Rotten feeling. Pressure worse than a fist. You can't breathe. Move anything makes it worse. You feel your own heart, like some animal skipping inside you. Crazy. I was scared to leave you. You did great. You brought me back from nowhere. She knows this is true. The mark upon her as a giver of death has been erased. As in fucking, she had been rendered transparent, then filled solid with peace. As if after fucking, she takes playful inventory of his body, feels the live sweat on his broad skin, traces a finger down the line of his nose. He repeats, Crazy, and sits up in bed, cooling himself, gasping safe on the shore. She snuggles at his side and lets her tears out like a child. Absently, still moving his arms gingerly, he fumbles with the ends of her hair as it twitches on his shoulder. She asks, Was it me? My throwing that fit about Harry's sister? I could have killed you. Never. Then he admits, "I need to keep things orderly or they get to me." "My being here is disorderly," she says. "Never mind," he says, not quite denying, and tugs her hair so her head jerks. Janice gets up and fetches the right pills. They had been there all along on the top shelf. She had looked on the middle shelf. He takes one and shows her how he puts it under his tongue to dissolve. As it dissolves, he makes that mouth she loves, lips pushed forward as if concealing a lozenge. When she turns off the light and gets into bed beside him, he rolls on his side to give her a kiss. She does not respond. She is too full of peace. Soon the soft rhythm of his unconscious breathing rises from his side of the bed. On her side, she cannot sleep. Awake in every nerve, she floats in a space purged of obstacles and illusions. The traffic continues down below. She and Charlie float motionless above Brewer. He sleeps on the wind, his heart hollow. Next time she might not be able to keep him up. Miracles are granted, but we must not lean on them. This love that has blown through her has been a miracle. The one thing worthy of it remaining is to leave. Spirits are insatiable, but bodies get enough. She has had enough. He has had enough. More might be too much. She might begin to kill. He calls her Tiger. Toward 6, the air brightens. She sees his square, broad forehead, the thinning hair dry and tangled before its morning combing, the nose so shapely a kind of feminine vanity seems to be bespoken, the mouth even in sleep slightly pouting, a snail shine of saliva released from one corner. Angel, buzzard, Janice sees that in the vast volume of her love she has renounced the one possible imperfection, its object. Her own love engulfs her. She sinks down through its purity swiftly fallen, all feathers. Mom has the phone by her bed. Downstairs, Rabbit hears it ring, then hears it stop. But some time passes before she makes him understand it is for him. She cannot raise her voice above a kind of whimper now, but she has a cane, an intimidating knobby briar Pop brought home one day from the Brewer Salvation Army store. She taps on the floor with it until attention comes up the stairs. She is quite funny with it, waving it around, thumping. "All my life," she says, "what I wanted, a cane." He hears the phone ring twice, and then only slowly the tapping of the cane sinks in. He is vacuuming the living room rug, trying to get some of the fustiness up. In Mom's room, the smell is more powerful, the perverse vitality of rot. He has read somewhere that what we smell are just tiny fragments of the thing itself, tickling a plate in our nose, a subtler smoke. Everything has its cloud, a flower's bigger than a rock's, a dying person's bigger than ours. Mom says, "For you." The pillows she is propped on have slipped, so she sits at a slant. He straightens her, and since the word Janice begins with a sound difficult for her throat muscles to form, she is slow to make him understand who it is. He freezes, reaching for the phone. "I don't want to talk to her." "Why not?" Okay. It is confusing having to talk here, Janice's voice filling his ear while Mom and her rumpled bed fill his vision. Her blue-knuckled hands clasp and unclasp. Her eyes, open too wide, rest on him in a helpless stare, the blue irises ringed with a thin white circle like a sucked life-saver. "Now what?" he says to Janice. "You could at least not be rude right away," she says. "Okay, I'll be rude later. Let me guess. You're calling to tell me you've finally gotten around to getting a lawyer." Janice laughs. It's been long since he heard it, a shy noise that tries to catch itself halfway out, like a snagged yo-yo. "No," she says, "I haven't gotten around to that yet. Is that what you're waiting for?" She is harder to bully now. "I don't know what I'm waiting for." Is your mother there, or are you downstairs? Yes, up. You sound that way. Harry? Harry, are you there? Sure, where else? Would you like to meet me any place? She hurries on to make it business. The insurance men keep calling me. I guess we owned the house jointly. They say you won't fill out any of the forms. They say we ought to be making some decisions, about the house. Daddy already is trying to sell it for us. Typical. And then there's Nelson. You don't have room for him, you and your spick. His mother looks away, shocked, studies her hands, and by an effort of will stops their idle waggling. Janice has taken a quick, high breath. He cannot bump her off the line today. That's another thing, sweetie. I've moved out. It's all decided. Everything's fine. That way, with Charlie and me. I'm calling from my parents' place. I've spent the last 2 nights here. Harry? I'm listening. I'm right here. What do you think? I'm going to run away? You have before. I was talking to Peggy yesterday on the phone. She and Ollie are back together, and he had heard you had gone off to some other state. A newspaper in Baltimore had given you a job. Fat chance. And Peggy said she hadn't heard from you at all. I think she's hurt. Why should she be hurt? She told me why. Yeah, she would. Hey, this is a lot of fun chatting, but did you have anything definite you want to say? You want Nelson to come live with the Springers, is that it? I suppose he might as well. He is going to confess that the boy is unhappy, but his mother is listening, and it would hurt her feelings. Considering her condition, she has really put herself out for Nelson this time. Janice understands and asks, Would you like to see me? Would it make you too mad looking at me? And he laughs. His own laugh is unfamiliar in his ears. It might, he says, meaning it might not. Oh, let's, she says. You want to come here, or shall I come there? She understands his silence and confirms. This book is